Have you ever felt that no matter how much time passes, an old pain remains trapped in your body? As if something that happened long ago is still alive inside, squeezing your chest or weighing on your shoulders. What you're about to discover may surprise you, because there are people who carried resentment for years, and when they finally forgave, something absolutely unexpected, almost, happened. Inexplicable. It happened in their bodies. Real, palpable physical changes that science itself is still struggling to fully understand. Stay with me until the end, because maybe you'll recognize a little bit of yourself in these stories. When we talk about repressed emotions, resentment, and lack of forgiveness, we're not just talking about abstract feelings. We're talking about tension, inflammation, pain, sleepless nights, silent signs that the body is holding on to everything the mind is trying to forget. Have you ever experienced this? That discomfort without a clear reason, that fatigue that appears out of nowhere, that emotional weight that seems to transform into physical weight. Today I want to show you how this connection between emotion and body is much deeper than it seems, and how releasing what hurts you can generate an unexpected transformation within you. And that's precisely why, before we go deeper, you need to understand what really happens when forgiveness finally arrives. And as we delve deeper into this topic, perhaps something inside you is already awakening. A memory, a feeling, a discomfort you didn't even know you were still carrying. If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below about what has touched you the most so far. Sometimes, putting our feelings into words is the first step in relieving some of the weight inside. And your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people who, like you, also need to hear this kind of message. If you're enjoying the conversation, please leave a like. This shows that this content is making a difference and helps me continue producing videos that truly touch, heal, and awaken. And of course, if you feel you want to walk with me on this journey about emotions, body, and inner healing, subscribe to the channel. It seems simple, but each subscription reminds me that there's an entire community seeking transformation, seeking lightness, seeking to understand what's happening inside. And while you do that, take a deep breath. Because what comes next will help you see forgiveness in a completely different way, and maybe even realize what your own body has been trying to tell you for a long time. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there's a story that, every time I remember it, makes me reflect on how the body screams what the mind tries to hide. A woman who for years lived with constant lower back pain, the kind of discomfort that no exam could explain. She changed her routine, her posture, her diet, but nothing changed the pain. And the most curious thing is that this pain began at exactly the same time she broke off an important relationship, carrying a silent resentment, almost hidden in the background of her own life. She moved on, at least on the surface, but internally that resentment became a kind of hidden truth that her body could no longer ignore. One day, during a simple conversation, she realized that the pain had the same emotional weight as what she couldn't forgive. It was like connecting dots that had always been there but had never been observed honestly. After a long time, she decided to face what she had been avoiding. It wasn't quick, it wasn't pretty, it wasn't easy, but it was authentic. And when she finally managed to release that emotional knot, something amazing happened. The pain that had accompanied her for years simply dissolved, not like magic, not like a miracle, but as a direct consequence of a profound internal transformation. What I'm about to tell you isn't magic, it's emotional biology. The body reacts to our emotional decisions, to the resentments we hold, to changes in mindset that seem invisible on the outside, but have a powerful impact on the inside. When I understood this story, I realized how many people experience similar situations without realizing it. Physical pain becomes a kind of persistent messenger, trying to show that something is trapped, repressed, waiting to be released. And that's why, by exploring these revelations, everything starts to make a little more sense, because the body doesn't lie. If this resonates with you in any way, leave a comment below. That makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when we talk about resentment, we're not just dealing with an isolated emotion. but with a real emotional archive trapped, stored in the most hidden corner of memory. And the interesting thing is that even when the mind tries to ignore this archive, the body continues to read every line of it. It's as if the tension in the shoulders, the tightness in the chest, or that fatigue that appears without explanation were small physical reminders of something that hasn't yet been resolved. Resentment creates a kind of invisible overload, a silent weight that accumulates until it completely changes our energy, our focus, and even our way of reacting to the world. Some people describe this feeling as carrying a backpack full of rocks and pretending it's not there. But the body knows. It feels. The cortisol rise, the breathing becomes short, the heart race in situations that should be simple. These are reactions that happen behind the scenes, almost automatically, because the trapped emotion remains alive, active, influencing decisions, perceptions, and even how we interpret small daily frustrations. It's a profound, silent impact that shapes our mindset in ways we often don't even realize. And perhaps the most curious part of this journey is realizing that the body is constantly trying to warn you. It sends signals, creates discomfort, alters sleep, changes appetite, as if asking you to look at what has been pushed inside. Not as punishment, but as a protective mechanism, almost an attempt to prevent this hidden truth from continuing to erode your strength. When we understand this, we begin to see each tension, each discomfort, not as enemies, but as messages that demand attention and emotional honesty. And this understanding opens the door to something much bigger, something that transforms not only the body, but our entire inner experience. Comment below, I'm on this journey too. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when we begin to understand the cycle between body and emotion, everything gains an almost disconcerting clarity. There is a point where science and human experience meet, and it is precisely there that we realize how the body reacts to each memory we carry. The sympathetic nervous system, for example, was created to protect us from real dangers, but it also ends up being activated by memories, words, faces, situations that awaken old wounds. Even when you believe you have overcome something, the emotional memory remains there, engraved in detail, ready to trigger threat mode in the face of any sign that resembles what once hurt you. That's why sometimes just thinking about a person or mentally reliving an event is enough to make your stomach churn, your chest tighten, or your breathing change. It's not an exaggeration. It's not drama. It's not all in your head. It's your body reacting the same way it reacted in the past. Your body relives the pain even when you think you've already forgotten. It doesn't know the situation is over. It only perceives the pattern and responds as if it were happening again. And this creates a kind of internal loop where the body tries to defend itself from something that has already passed, but is still very much alive inside. The impact of this dynamic is profound. It changes how we deal with conflicts, decisions, and approaches. It influences relationships, productivity, and self-esteem. The body and emotions communicate all the time, even when you don't realize it. And understanding this internal dialogue is one of the most important revelations of this journey, because it shows you that nothing you feel happens out of nowhere. There is always a reason, a record, an echo of something that the mind tries to push away, but the body insists on bringing back. When you begin to see through these emotional backgrounds, you realize that your body isn't against you, it's trying to protect you. But often, this protection comes in the form of tension, anxiety, constant alertness, as if the body were expecting an attack that never comes. And it's precisely this perception that opens the door to something transformative, because when you understand the mechanism, you also begin to understand the way out, the path to liberation. Write this down. That makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when we talk about unforgiveness, we're not just talking about something emotional or symbolic, but a real, almost palpable biological process. The body responds to resentment as if it were facing a continuous threat, and this creates an internal terrain where inflammation silently increases, like a low flame that never goes out. Muscle tension becomes an automatic pattern, as if the body were always preparing for an impact that never comes. And it's curious to see how so many sleep disorders begin precisely at this point. The mind tries to rest, but the body remains alert, trapped in a cycle it doesn't know how to end on its own. Cardiac changes also follow this same pattern. A sudden accelerated heartbeat, a feeling of tightness in the chest, that strange discomfort that seems emotional but is also physical. And the hidden truth behind all this is simple. It's not just feelings, it's chemical reactions happening inside you right now. Hormones are being released, neurotransmitters are becoming deregulated, entire systems are working unevenly because of something that was never processed emotionally. It's as if the body is reliving, daily, a story you try to forget, but which continues to be active in the background. And what's most striking is realizing the impact this has on your mindset. You start responding to situations with more irritation, less patience, more defensiveness. Small things become triggers. Simple decisions seem heavier. The emotional journey becomes more tiring than it should be. Because when the body lives in a state of unforgiveness, everything becomes denser, more burdened, as if life loses some of its natural lightness. And by recognizing these signs, something inside you begins to move, as if you finally understand that there is a direct relationship between what you hold on to and what you feel physically. Comment below. I'm on this journey too. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because there's a very specific, almost subtle moment when something inside you finally lets go. It's not just lip service forgiveness, nor that attempt to let it go while everything remains heavy inside. I'm talking about real forgiveness, the kind that happens when the mind, body, and emotions finally come to the same agreement. And it's amazing how, when this happens, the body reacts even before you rationally understand what's happening. Your breathing changes. It becomes deeper, freer, as if the air finally finds space to circulate without hitting the internal walls that resentment has built up over time. And there's something even more curious. Cortisol levels drop. It's not an imagined sensation, it's pure biochemistry. The body perceives the emotional release and responds immediately, as if saying, "Now I can rest inside." Relaxation happens almost without you realizing it. Shoulders that have been raised for years begin to fall. A jaw that was always tense loosens. Backs that always seemed heavy find a resting point you didn't even remember. It's a silent transformation, but so real that often the person only notices it after someone comments, "You look lighter." And that's the most beautiful part of this journey. The physical lightness doesn't just come from an emotional change, but from a profound chemical and neurological shift. The body knows when you let go, even before you realize it. It recognizes the end of an internal threat, the end of a story that was trapped in emotional memory. And this almost indescribable feeling of lightness isn't poetry. It's physiology responding to the decision that, deep down, you finally managed to make. The impact of this spreads to everything: your mood, your posture, your energy, the way you see the world. It's as if a piece of you that was trapped is finally released, opening space for new revelations and new ways of living your own truth. Write this down. That makes sense to me. It's curious how, when we observe these accounts carefully, we notice a silent pattern that almost no one talks about. People who have carried back pain for months, and after genuine forgiveness, simply wake up feeling different. It's not magic, it's not fantasy. It's that sudden change that seems to come from a place that science is still studying, but doesn't fully understand. There are stories of people who lived with a constant weight on their chest, a tightness that had become part of their routine, and who, after a profound emotional decision, experienced such a sudden reduction in symptoms that even doctors are left without a clear explanation. The feeling of physical peace appears as if it had been released from an internal vault, a space that opened after years of being locked. And the most intriguing thing is that this transformation doesn't follow external logic. It arises from within, as if the body were waiting for exactly this moment to reorganize everything. When you listen to these emotional insights, you realize there's a hidden truth at play. It's not just about feelings, it's about physiological impact, about a shift in mindset, and with it, all the internal chemistry follows suit. It's as if each cell receives a silent command saying, Now you can rest. And this reveals something powerful. The body understands decisions that the mind sometimes takes time to accept. It reacts to what is real, not to what is said superficially. And in light of these accounts, it becomes impossible to ignore that there is an emotional intelligence that is also biological, responding to relief even before you can put into words what has changed. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there's a point where emotion and physiology meet in a way that almost no one realizes, and that's exactly where many people begin to understand what they've been searching for years without knowing it. Comment below. This makes sense to me. And when we talk about forgiveness, it's impossible to ignore how much this decision stirs up very old layers of our emotional history. It's not difficult because we're too stubborn or proud. It's difficult because forgiveness directly touches our deepest defenses. There's an almost invisible fear of appearing weak, as if letting go of what happened is the same as admitting that it didn't hurt us that much. And that's simply not true. Many people confuse forgiveness with reconciliation, as if forgiving someone obliges you to trust again, to get closer, to reopen doors you closed for safety. But forgiveness isn't that. Forgiveness is internal, silent, and often completely independent of the other person. It's your journey, not theirs. And there's another point that almost no one admits out loud. Sometimes holding on to resentment seems like a form of protection, a kind of emotional armor that prevents new wounds, as if maintaining resentment were a constant reminder not to repeat the same story. But this protection comes at too high a price, because it also blocks lightness, rest, and even the ability to trust oneself. And even understanding all this, there's still that internal conflict, the desire to move forward fighting against the fear of opening oneself up to being hurt again. It is precisely in this place that humanity appears. You are not weak for feeling this, you are human. And being human means navigating emotions that don't always make sense at first glance, but that carry hidden truths about our experiences. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when you understand where this resistance comes from, something inside you begins to reorganize itself, as if a new mindset opens up space for choices that previously seemed impossible. Write this down. I'm on this journey too. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject and talk about something practical, which often remains in the background, of our intention to change, how to truly begin the process, without shortcuts or self-deception. First, it's necessary to name the pain. It's not just saying, "I'm hurt," out of politeness. It's putting specific words to what happened, when it happened, and how it affects your body today. Naming it brings to light the hidden truth that was corroding you from within. It's an act of courage that already begins the transformation. Next, understanding what you lost helps to reorganize your mindset. What we need to forgive isn't always a return or a reconciliation. Often it's accepting the loss of an expectation, a security, or an image we had of the other person. This clarity changes decisions because it frees you from trying to fix the irreparable and allows you to choose what truly matters for your emotional and physical health. Another essential distinction is separating forgiveness from coexistence. You can forgive without allowing dangerous reopenings. Forgiving is not signing a coexistence contract. It's taking care of yourself. Freeing the body from what it can no longer bear involves simple and profound gestures, conscious breathing, therapy, writing letters that don't need to be sent, symbolic closing rituals. Each small step generates real impact, reduced tension, more restful sleep, less automatic reaction to old wounds. Forgiving, in many cases, is literally stopping the bleeding inside. It's ceasing the continuous wear and tear that corrodes energy, focus, and joy. The journey is not linear, and decisions that seem small in everyday life are often chain reactions that transform your entire system. When you approach the process honestly, you begin to notice subtle changes, a different posture, a less reactive emotional choice, a renewed patience with your own story. It's a job that requires gentleness and firmness, sensitivity to feel the body, and courage to redefine boundaries. Comment below. I'm on this journey too. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject Because when you look at everything you've gone through so far, you begin to realize that forgiveness isn't just a mental decision, it's a change of state, almost like a silent shift within you. And it's at this point that true transformation happens. Remember that initial story, that weight that seemed impossible to let go of. When we revisit that moment with our current mindset, something different appears in the background. It's no longer the same raw pain. It's a clearer, more understood version, almost as if it finally has a shape. And when that happens, you realize that you're no longer fighting against the event itself, but against the habit of carrying it for too long. This realization opens the door to a deeper reflection. Who do you still carry within you? And who is it time to let go of? Sometimes it's not the person themselves, but the mark they left, the broken expectation, the narrative that continued to grow within us, even after everything ended. When you see this honestly, you begin to notice the immediate impact on the body, as if each insight were a small muscular release, a loosening of the soul, a revelation that relieves without asking permission. It's the hidden truth of healing. It always begins invisibly. And when you recognize that forgiveness isn't about the other person, but about your own journey, everything reorganizes itself within you. The sensation is almost physical. Your chest opens a little more, your breathing becomes more stable, your decisions become less tense. It's an emotional, spiritual, and even physiological alignment, because at its core, forgiveness is a profound act of self-care, a gesture that restores energy, clarity, and inner space for what truly matters. Each time you release a fragment of that old pain, something within you begins to live again in a more whole way. And before we move on, leave a comment below. That makes sense to me. And if you've made it this far with me, it's because somehow this conversation resonated with you. So let me ask you something very simply and sincerely. If this content has helped you see a part of yourself more clearly, please subscribe to the channel. It's not about numbers, it's not about algorithms. It's because I want to continue delivering things that truly make a difference in your journey. And subscribing is the easiest way for you not to miss what's coming next. And since you've made it to the end, leave a comment saying, "I'm with you until the..." And it's a beautiful way for me to know that you've walked this far with me, and it creates a connection that truly matters. Also, feel free to leave a like. It shows that this message really touched you and helps keep this space alive. And if you want to delve deeper into this topic, there's a video here that complements this conversation and further explores this process. Click and continue reading there.